Hi guys, welcome back to Warrior Wild, and this is just our second video. So thank you for showing up and seeing what we're all about. Today I'm going to share a personal story with you as we move forward. Like I said in the first video, I kind of gave you a little bit of my background, kind of what our focus and our purpose is. I see my life's work in the intersection between traditional medicine and more innovative and progressive medicine. I really want to fulfill the vows that I made as a nurse way back in the 90s when I stood up there in my pinning, and I don't feel like right now our profession is filled with amazing human beings, and I am very proud to call myself a nurse. But our healthcare system is failing. Our system is failing us, even though the nurses are working their butts off and they're trying to provide the best care. The actual system is falling apart. And I, for years, have been working towards wanting to get to people before they got to my emergency room, right? So I'm still an emergency room nurse. I will be for a few more months. I'm at the tail end of my registered nurse career as I step into my advanced degree as a psychiatric nurse practitioner, with the goal to be double boarded as a psychiatric nurse practitioner as well as a family nurse practitioner, so that I can really offer comprehensive, innovative, holistic care in my clinic. But until then, I am a grad student and an ER nurse. And my goal for years and years has been to get to people before they get to the emergency room. We are currently a species that is sad, fat, and sick. And I believe that we are meant to be happy and healthy and to be optimizing the biological experience. And one of the ways, or the way to do that, is our reconnection with both the earth and each other. But one of the goals of this video series or of Warrior Rewild in general, is to provide evidence base and scientific understanding. One of the things that we do as nurses is that, have you ever been in a room where the doctor comes in and they spew all this stuff? They say all these words that you have no idea. They say it fast and they walk out. And then the patient looks at me and says, "What did they just say?" Or even if the doctor had great bedside manner, because so many of them do, also doing their best in a broken system, people take a while to digest it and understand it. And it's really the nurse's role to translate the jargon, right? To take the bigger concepts and then bring it down, especially if somebody doesn't have a medical background, and say, okay, so not only is this what that means, but also this is how that applies to your life. And then what do we need to do? How do we need to modify your choices, your decisions, your lifestyle, your food, your movement, whatever, in order to deal with either the news you just got or to prevent or whatever it is that your goal is. So both as a traditional role as a nurse, and then also as a health coach, as a clinician, and then also as a nurse practitioner, my goal is to really be able to provide that education, that translation, and that application in order for you to take this very important information and put it into feasible application in your life. That being said, that's not what today's about. That's the future videos. But I'm going to share with you today is something that's going to be integrated into the upcoming videos, and that is my own personal rewilding of my life. So a few years ago, I was living everything I talk about, right? I was teaching people how to eat and how to move and how to be outside. I was still trying to figure everything out, but I myself was living my lifestyle, and I was in really good health, and I was in really good shape, and my brain was in a really good place. And then over the last 2 years, while I'm in school, I really stopped doing a lot. It was a snowball. effect that all of a sudden you wake up in the middle of the snowball effect and you're like, wow, this is rolling down the hill fast. And I am sick. And I am sick. I gained a ton of weight. I weigh more now than, or am I at least approaching pregnancy weight, definitely post pregnancy weight. My fitness level is significantly declined. My mental health, which is much more concerning to me than my body composition, because body composition is very important for your health, but more important than anything for me right now is getting my mental health back in place. And it's very interesting because although was never diagnosed, I think even if you knew me when I wasn't having a lot of symptoms, it's very clear that I'm not a neurotypical. I'm definitely ADHD. My symptoms were always my life I had kind of created a life that worked very well with who I am. So I worked in an ER 3 days a week. I had other days off during the week. The way that I exercised really hard. I ate really clean. I had my supplements were on point. My circadian rhythm was in balance. I was in the woods all the time and hiking and camping and traveling. So I was very, I was not having what I would call symptoms, especially because I was in and out of ketosis. I do, and I'm not saying that anybody has to chase ketones necessarily. I think diet is very individual, and they're all tools in a bigger toolbox. But for me, the utilization of the metabolic state of ketosis is very, very beneficial for my intellectual abilities. And what you'll notice over the next couple of videos is that, because right now I am not in ketosis, I am very much out of shape. My diet is out of whack. My circadian rhythms are out of whack. And what you would call symptoms of ADHD are off the chart. When I do assessments on patients, I am like, wow, my score is higher than your score. But it's definitely been very interesting and very challenging to have a full load of school, going to school, working in a very difficult emergency room, running a household on my own, and still being able to juggle all that and having my symptoms. I'm very, very forgetful. I'm very disorganized. I have zero ability to get places on time when my symptoms are bad. Even just a little bit of exercise or eating a little bit more on point, and those immediately start to kind of dissipate. I also am using rhodiola and some omega-3s, and that makes a big difference for my brain as well. But what I'm excited about is, as I move forward, I'm really excited to regain. One of the first things that I start to see is my ability to unlock knowledge that's in my brain, or my ability to articulate, my ability to pronounce words, all shift significantly when depending on my lifestyle choices. Okay, so all of that is happening. I've all sorts of symptoms. I've gained weight. I actually officially switched. If you look just at my BMI, I've actually officially switched over into being just crossed over into the overweight category. I have bloating and abdominal discomfort. I have fatigue. I have increased nasal congestion. I have lack of motivation. So if we're going to talk about my mental health, lack of motivation, disorganized, forgetful, poor time management. I noticed a few months ago that I started to have some hair. I don't think that it was falling out, but there was a shift and change in my hair, change in the pattern, change in the thickness, change in the dryness. My skin has been dry. I have some swelling bilateral in my armpits, in my lymphs. I have tension in my jaw, in my neck, in my upper back. I had this episode where I thought that I was having cardiac issues. Ended up being that it was anxiety, and I just didn't recognize it because I had really never been somebody who was anxious. I think it's tied into the ADHD more than actual anxiety. It was it was part of the symptoms of my ADHD. I get dark circles under my eyes. I get puffy under my eyes. So in fact, the first things that happen with me when I start to become imbalanced is I become less articulate. I notice a slowing in my intellectual ability. I notice swelling and darkness under my eyes, and I bloat in my belly. And I also have a little bit of postural instability. So when I go from sitting to standing, I can get a little dizzy at times. So these are the things that I'm going to start to really pay attention to over the next couple of weeks as I start to shift and put protocols into place. So right now what I'm doing is a preparatory phase. So I'm not really instituting anything quite yet. I've been kind of going to the gym. A couple weeks ago I went 5 days. Last week I went 1 day. But getting up to the mountains again, starting to hike again, trying to get my daily walks in. I always get my morning light right away in the morning. And we're going to talk about what protocols in particular I'm going to put in. And remember, everybody's protocols are a little different. I really believe in individual differences for different people's lives, to what they're experiencing, what's happening in their lives. We kind of tweak things, but there's a fundamental kind of flow and a fundamental level of protocol that really needs to go across the board in anybody before you even start to like make other big changes. So the next video will really be about what my protocols are. But today I'm telling you about the preparatory. So today's preparatory, next video will be protocol. So what I'm going to do is I'm starting to talk about this. I'm starting to build accountability, right? Like doing this video is building accountability. I am sharing with you that this is my plan, that I'm going to have and I'm going to share the goals when I do the protocol. I'll do what my goals are. I shared with you what my symptoms are. So I'm going to really be looking at those symptoms and seeing what we can do to really try to improve them, right? Obviously, I want to gain muscle. I want to lose weight. I want to increase my cognitive ability and move forward with all of that. So tomorrow I go and I'm going to get a Dexa scan. I'm going to the Dexa Fit. There's one in Cambridge. If you're local to me, there's one in most of like the big cities. There's one in Cambridge. I live in Massachusetts, so it's one in Cambridge, but I'm going to the one in Seekonk, so Dexa Fit, Rhode Island. And I'm going tomorrow with a friend, and we're going to get our VO2 max, our RMR, and our Dexa Fit scan. And then that's really what that's going to do is it's going to tell me how much muscle I have. It's going to give me a baseline, how much muscle I have, how much fat, where is that fat? Is it visceral? Is it subcutaneous? What is my bone density? It's giving me all sorts of information. It's really going to give me a nice, and I've had them before, but this is really going to be the worst one have ever had. And it's going to be a good baseline. It's going to show me in 3 months when I go back where, or 6 months, depending, when I decide where I'm going to be. The other thing is I'm going to go get some lab testing done. So I'll share the labs with you that I'm going to do, but just kind of real basic. I'm probably I'll do some more, but if I just would say like basic labs that you want anytime you really want to kind of get a baseline and think about where you are for general health, right? Especially because I noticed some changing in my hair and my weight. I want to do a whole thyroid panel, which includes your T3, T4, your free T3 and 4, and a TPO. Make sure that there isn't any sort of autoimmune stuff going on, right? I'm going to get a vitamin D, which I would have gotten anyways. I like to get at the beginning of the summer and then at the end of the summer so I can kind of see where I am heading into the winter. CBC and chemistry, obviously. I like to try to get a fasting glucose, but I would like to get an insulin and a leptin, an A1C. I guess I'd get some lipids done, maybe some inflammation markers. We'll see what else we're going to do besides that, but that's just on the top of my list. So labs, Dexa scan. I'm going to do a weigh-in, pictures, measurements. Talked about the lab work, accountability. I wrote out my symptoms. And and I'm also I have a Ringcon that I used for some data. I have a Samsung watch, but it's broken right now. But this at least gives me so I can watch my sleep data, and I can also do my steps. I can do my HRV with this. So I've been trending my HRV. I've been trending my sleep. My steps have been abysmal because I have been seeing patients 5 days a week. But so I need to try to institute a plan in order to try to get better steps. So this is a, having some sort of data is very helpful so that I can kind of keep an eye on what I'm doing. The apps that I'm getting ready to utilize are, I use, let's see what they're called. because I'm choosing, and like I said, not everybody needs to go, and it's not the keto diet when I say this, but I'm going to utilize ketosis. So I am going to monitor my food. How come that's not? I'm going to do a fasting app for my intermittent fasting. So I'm not going to do too much intermittent fasting. I'm probably going to skip dinner once or twice a week, just giving a few extra hours from the time I stop eating to my next breakfast. I am going to do breakfast every day. And I am not finding my app. So we'll talk about apps in the next one. But and then I'll probably institute, depending, at some point I will institute a couple of like 24, 48 hours. Because I do really well with that, and because I want to build up my ketosis and I want to utilize autophagy. So we'll talk about that as we go through, but I don't know exactly what my protocols are going to be. That's why I'm just gathering all the data that I can now. The other thing that I'm doing for my own personal growth, because I do well with education and then accountability. So accountability is that I'm going to tell everybody that I'm doing it as part of this video. And then also, I joined a group. So there's a doc in Arizona that I really like, Dr. Courtney Hunt. And she does all sorts of different education and webinars. So I just did an advanced webinar on autophagy, fasting, exercise, and it's all about utilization of data to really, and she gets very, very deep. It's her advanced group, very deep into autophagy, ketosis, the state of ketosis, fasting, stem cells, and the utilization of data for all of that. So I'm learning. So I have stimulating my brain. I'm looking, the whole idea of every therapist needs a therapist. I'm seeking expert guidance more than me. So I can continue to learn. So that's not just like, all right, this is what I tell other people to do, so I'm just going to stay here. I'm always looking to grow, always looking to challenge my views, always looking to press forward and change and get better and understand more. So though that is what I'm doing to prep. Okay. And I'm going to do some shopping and prepping and thinking about the food. So the next video will be what my protocols are. Potentially they might be the results of all that stuff, or that might be a different video. But and I'm going to move forward from there. So I will keep you guys updated, and let me know where you are. Have you gone through something like this? Are you going through it? Are you preparing? What have you done? What worked for you? Share it all with us. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.